Good morning, David Atkins, targeted individual. Okay, so I got a lot of information I'm going to share today about chatterboxes, and scripts, neuro linguistic programming, how it's done, what kind of scripts and tricks the CIA uses on us, and stuff like that. Very interesting video, and it's got a lot of work. I mean, I got all kinds of information to spread out, notebooks and all this reading. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with a Bible verse and just bear with me because this is good information. However, I have to describe what chatterboxes is before I can explain the scripts they use on targeted individuals and other people as far as torture. So please bear with me. It's going to be a great video. I really don't feel like doing it, but I'm forcing myself to because I feel like, um, especially a lot of target individuals wonder about forced speech, mind control. Sometimes they do stuff they don't remember, just different stuff, and confusion that they put in your mind through neuro linguistic programming and chatterboxes. So anyway, and I'm fixing to start. But first, I'm coming from Matthew 24:36 through 39. But of that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage, until the day Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Okay, so I'm fixing to start the video. Excuse me, my nose is itching. So, and I tell people that because people be like, "Oh no, he scratched his nose." It's a sign. No, my nose was itching. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to explain what a chatterbox is, and then I'm going to go in these scripts they use, like the Wizard of Oz, the characters in the Wizard of Oz, and it's all going to make sense when I'm done. Okay, what is chatterboxes? Chatter is a term used in the intelligence community. It means a gross aggregate of communication via any media. It's also used when sampling the mental chatter of a population. What is the aggregate view, emotion, or opinion? Is the question it answers. Chatter is used for predicting the future statistically when humans are involved. If there's a lot of chatter about a terrorist attack, then statistically it might be true. If a chatter of a population predicts the outcome to an election, then it can be altered. Chatter can be used to predict technology and economic hype cycles. This is a good indicator where stocks will become overpriced. This is related to Rand Corporation's swarm theory of information. An individual's mind also has chatter. Based on the frequency an idea comes up with, one creates metrics of mind's mental chatter. Hypnosis, subliminal suggestion, neuro-linguistic programming, aka psychic driving, can be done with artificial intelligence chatterbox program. And neuro-linguistic programming, is to program is the use of certain words, linguistics, to program the neurons in the brain, and in particular the subconscious portions of the brain, to affect the way a person consciously perceives reality. Okay, so it says this helps to automate and scale the neurological behavior control weapons. Autonomous robots as mass scale weapons of destruction are illegal according to 3 international treaties. The United States has broken every one of the treaties on automated killing machines, non-consensual human experimentation, and invisible electromagnetic direct energy weapon systems. Even the Russians tried to alert those governments with a conscience to ban them. The only government who held out at the UN was the United States, since the torture weapons to death have been remarketed in the English language. Okay, since the development of mind control technology, the very old science of torture, interrogation, and personality programming have been adapted to remote renditions. The CIA's scripts and tricks use common culture-specific themes. Some scripts are tailored to an individual, but in a general way, they are based on popular culture. And some may be like, well, you're saying the CIA is doing this. No, but they developed this. So this technology could be in anybody's hands. I don't know who's doing it. But I think the DOD's involved and all that. But I don't think it's everybody in the. I think higher ups know about it, man. Shadow government, and that's just my opinion. Everybody's got their own opinion, but nobody can actually pinpoint where it's going. I know the NSA's got their hands in it for sure. Okay, the CIA scripts and tricks use common culture, and I'm saying CIA based on them creating all this technology and stuff like, and helping create all these techniques, mind control, and these scripts I'm fixing to explain. Like sort of says Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, and there's more to it, Like you just got it's worth listening to. It sounds crazy, but give me a chance and you won't be disappointed. If you're a target individual, you might even feel like, hey, some of this has been done on me. It has on me. Okay. CIA scripts and tricks with common cultural specific themes. Some scripts are tailored to an individual, but in general, they are based on popular culture. The most common scripts used are called The Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland. But many new ones have shown up in the last decade. Government projects are basing them on movies like Blade Runner, Star Wars, Born Identity, The Matrix, and Inception. It's worth discussing the three most popular scripts that are used over and over again on thousands of people. Different kinds of stresses over time cause different effects on the human psychology. Some kinds of small stresses add over time. This is the concept behind the Chinese water torture. A small drop of water every second on the forehead will eventually drive the captive crazy. Other kinds of torture only last for duration before the mind adapts and filters it out. And some kind of tortures work best if the target knows beforehand what's going to be done to them rather than have it surprise them. Sensibilization of stress helps the target want to tell the truth. This is often called stress conditioning. A person can be sensitized desensitized to certain kinds of stressors. If they're sensitive to lying, then the target is more likely to tell the truth during interrogations. If a person's desensitized to lying, they make a good spy and can pass polygraphs with ease. The technique to sensitize a person of interest is to use shame, guilt, and by making every one of their fears come true. This prominent technique employed is to use the subject's mind against them. In the extreme, a person can be so completely traumatized they cannot handle everyday situations without shutting down. A movie called Clockwork Orange demonstrates this technique by DoD behavioral psychologists. The objective is to destroy and kill the target with their own mind using remote influence. Uh, okay, Alice in Wonderland script. Proportions and logic have fallen sloppy dead, and the whole White Knights are talking backwards, and the Red Queen has lost her head. That came from Jefferson Airplane. It was a band back in I don't know, I don't want to misquote 70s or 80s. I think 70s. In all interrogation literature, the first steps are to confuse and disorient the target. Likewise, in most of the CIA scripts, there's goal confusion. Alice in Wonderland script is aptly named as it involves chasing the white rabbit in the beginning. Chasing the white rabbit is an information warfare term for leading the subject down a path of misinformation or information overload. During the script, the mind hackers increase panic using a beta wave enhancing entrainment while conveying messages such as panic, hurry up, the end of the world's near, we're going to kill your family, we're frying your brain, we place bombs in your car, etc. Panic is used to confuse the target, but also make the target act irrationally and make bad decisions. People who panic can also be made to make choices through suggestion more easily. In the fairy tale, the White Rabbit is panicking for apparently no reason other than to get Mad Hatter's tea party. Hurry up, I'm late, I'm late, I'm late. The script is used to discredit the target and make them sound insane. They often tell the target they lost their minds and have planted brain chips in them. The Cheshire Cat says to Alice, "You wouldn't be here unless you were mad." As the experimentation script progresses, so does the madness. This prepares the target to chat to Alice and Tammy Chatterboxes. Tammy stands for Thought and Mind Interface. Okay, Chatterboxes, automated AI programs described in Chapter 3. The programs are imperfect, but their imperfections can be understood if one thought they were talking to an insane person. Most people do not know that the writer of Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll, was a physicist. There are many references to this in unintuitive quantum world in his writings, but in the CIA use of script, they go on to test perception warfare techniques. Remember that Alice becomes very small and very large where logic and proportions make no sense. And to top off this script, it comes complete with an evil Cheshire Cat smile cloned onto the target. The White Knight talks backwards trickery. And then I'm going to go into the Wizard of Oz script. Very interesting stuff. This is one of the more complex tricks technologically that the CIA uses in their Alice in Wonderland programs. It's meant to confuse the subject, discredit them if they tell anyone, and make them believe an omnipotent force exists so they won't hide any secrets. It is truly amazing illusion trick. And I'm talking about in their mind and all that. I'm not talking about disbelief in God or making them believe in. When I say making them believe in omnipotent, it's making them believe through voices that they're talking to them or suggestions that they got straight communication with them, and it's all manufactured. I'm not saying that. Oh, you said they're making them believe omnipotent force exists. Oh, they really do exist. They do exist. God does exist. Yes, but what he's saying here, he's saying make them believe an omnipotent force exists, so they won't hide any secrets. So you make them think they're in direct contact with an omnipotent force personally. You see what I'm saying? It's truly an amazing illusion and trick, one of their best and most difficult to explain. It requires two features of wireless mind hacking tools: detections of sudden changes of direction using radar triangulation, and Alice Chatterbox program. Later in the book, Alice um, will be described in detail, but it's basically a conversation bot used to invoke endless conversation with a human being and can be used to induce internal conversation that tricks the person into thinking it's their own internal voice. The technology of synthetic telepathy utilizes brain patterns that get perceived as sounds and then translated into spoken words by the brain. It requires several repeated patterns of stimulus, entire sentences, until comprehended consciously by the targeted mind. The chatterbox can induce a neurofeedback loop. When the individual walks backwards, the chatterbox will simply replay the last sentence or phrase phonetically backwards. The voice neurological communication signals often include the verbal cortex, which controls the vocal muscles and their pattern. So the target will literally speak the sounds backwards and out loud. People have difficulty believing that they are just biological computing entities, but this demonstration would convince anyone. Here we go. The Wizard of Oz script, code named by the CIA as the Kubark Manual, Kubark manual, follows the movie scripts by characters: the Cowardly Lion, Scarecrow with no brain, the Tin Man with no heart, and the Wicked Witch. These characters are acted out in the cybernetic hive mind for experimentation and interrogation. The target becomes each character in search of the fraud wizard hiding behind the national security curtain. Dorothy, we're not in Kansas anymore. In these personality simulations, the target's put through enormous strain. This is a strange twist on good cop, bad cop interrogation tactic. The strategy is the subject's more likely to crack and tell their secrets under the different emotional states and conditions. First comes the Wicked Witch, where they try to get the target to perform selfish, evil deeds. Next comes the Cowardly Lion. Paranoia and induction into the target's mind creates this state. Then the Tin Man is a sociopathic personality with no heart and no care, who is angry at the world. Have you been to this state? I've been through that state. I've been through almost every state in this that he's mentioning. And they put you, if real targets are going to get put in this state. I mean, I went through a cold-hearted state. I was like, man, this whole world walking around mugging me, man. I was mad at the world. And sometimes I catch myself in that state if I don't stay prayed up and stuff. And I'm not trying to tell non-believers, enforce God on nobody. I'm just telling you how I deal with stuff. Okay. All right. Then the Tin Man is a sociopathic personality with no heart, no care, who is angry at the world. The final stage is a scarecrow with no brain, a typical brain jamming, confusing tactic during interrogation. This drawn out script even comes with impish-like midget voices on helium, like the Lollipop Kids. Now, I'm not saying, well, they put Lollipop Kid voices in my head to make, confuse me and all that. No. And you got to understand, you're not going to hear these voices, and sometimes you will hear them. But a lot of people hear them. I have V2K. I'm not going to explain it on here because I've explained it in a couple videos, and if you watch my testimony, I explain it. But there's a reason I won't do that, and any real target will know why I'm not going to explain my V2K on here. And so I ain't got to say no more. But anyway, they can make you hear voices, but they can also bypass your ear and pump voices in your brain and put suggestions in your brain via neurolinguistic programming and synthetic telepathy, where you don't even know these suggestions are put in your head. You don't hear them. However, V2K, voice to skull, is where you actually do hear the voices. Okay, Angels and Demon script. The Angels and Demon script is the most popular one used on psychic warfare targets, so it's important to cover it in detail. The script plays into religions, local culture, superstitions, and mythology. 95% of the world is religious to some extent, so these techniques are very effective when combined with voice of skull weapons. He calls it voice to God, but I don't think it's voice of God at all. But it is called voice of God by the people who made it. Angels don't play this harp, a title of a book by Nick Begich, Begich, this HARP, HAARP, not a regular HARP. Imagine that. Okay, HARP stands for High Altitude Aurora Research Project. So, many people mind control electronic nervous system torturers point their finger at this giant phased array used for global communication. First, while creating a program assassin, the operator can dilate the target's pupil, which make the person look like a demon. This dilation occurs the dopamine and adrenal dump purely stimulated through neural circuits. This is the demonic possession script and gives the appearance that the person is possessed. It's used like all scripts to confuse the target about the real technology and purpose. Even special effects on computer spooking can make the person look possessed. See spooking viruses. Additionally, many will look like they're talking to themselves or have a split personality. Sometimes they make me go into stuff and do stuff I don't remember. And usually it's always verbal. What I'm saying is usually it's very mean stuff I say, and then hours later, after I get out of the episode, I won't remember nothing. But the person that witnesses this always can tell by the change in my eyes. So that's very interesting. Just now came to my head, hey, I just put two together there. During rapid fire interrogation techniques, the person is visited by 4 fallen angels or demons. In summary, if the psychic assassin fails to kill their targets, the target's saved by God's angels. They're usually Michael or Gabriel in the CIA scripts for Christian faith subjects. Then basically they are menticized into complacency and zombification, hoping ignorance is bliss as their memories fade of their torture. Project Monarch and Project Phoenix had similar objectives. The metaphor used is that the previous personality will be beaten out of the target and they will emerge as a deadly, beautiful butterfly or a beautiful bird from the ashes. In the book 1984, they tortured the target until they submit like a zombie and fill in the ruling party's ideas into their heads. Okay, and here's a side note on inserting and reinforcing ideas into a target. Conception. Psychic warfare training involves many techniques to fill people's heads with ideas and reinforce those ideas. Here are some tricks involved in doing that. Ideas are more championed if a person takes personal ownership of them. The technique is also often used in strategy and consulting sales to get the recipient to believe they came to a conclusion. There are many factors in getting a person to buy in as such authority of the speaker, trust, commonness, etc. Many find religious and spiritual experiences very intense and often life-changing. And in fact, any unusual and intense experience can alter a person's life views and sometimes even dreams. What do they manufacture a spiritual experience? Boom, then whatever they're trying to get you to believe, boom, you believe it. Okay, many find religion and spiritual experiences okay, never mind. Examples, Eureka and miracle scripts. Religion is the favorite method of manipulation of all man-hacking strips, used of the voice of skull, biocommunications, voice of God, is what they called it, such because they can pump voices to make you think you hear from God. Now, am I saying spiritual people don't hear from God? No, this is manufactured hearing from God. There's a difference, and it's used to accomplish a goal. Okay, religion is a favorite method of manipulation of all kind of hacking scripts, using the voice of God biocommunications such as microwave silent sound signals, and most will believe that their God of choice is speaking to them, aliens, angels, or demons. Another cognitive warfare strategy to insert ideas into the targets use first-person voice for an inner thought accompanied by induced goose flesh. This makes the person believe they came up with an idea and makes it feel more important, like a eureka. Goose flesh is one of the biological parameters mentioned by researchers at the Air Force's Direct Energy Directorate. Okay, let's look at some of the games played and parallels the angels and demon scripts to biblical teachings. A tinnitus tuning fork sound, which has the mathematical property and amplitude called Gabriel's horn, is used in one of their scripts. The bell of his visit turns people into prophets. This trick is worked on many targets of U.S. behavioral experimentation using voice-to-skull technologies. 4 angels visit the target, use rapid-fire questioning techniques. Next, Lucifer uses paranoia scripts and says one of many it says in one of many Bibles to use their own mind to destroy their house, relationship, and possessions. Other aspects of angels and demon CIA scripts include Satan's visit. During this part of mind control is a test to understanding what the target can maintain as truth when the operators tell the target that Satan only lies. Even when the target knows this, mind control is so powerful that sometimes the lies are believed. Sometimes the story of Job is used and the target's told that God's testing their faith through suffering and torture. The CIA and DOD bastardized the Bibles for their tricky and human weapons effective testing. Now, am I saying the story of Job didn't happen? Am I saying God don't test you and put you through the fire to refine you and turn you pure? You know, you know, in my spirituality, because I'm on a fine line. I'm just telling you what I believe. Yeah, God does put us through tests. However, this is talking about manufactured stuff. So they will, whatever they're trying to get you to do, whatever they're trying to influence, they're trying to put over you. They use this story of Job. Targets told the CIA bastardized the Bible, trick it. So anyway, here we go. Here I'm going to go ahead and do this because this is an insert too. It's a testimony from another Manchurian candidate, programmed assassin in the making. They forced me to read the Bible Revelations in particular. It was obvious they were trying to force a religion on me. They made constant references to Judgment Day and fallen angels. I see why the Department of Defense calls Voice of God weapons. They tried to give me a Jesus complex of persecution. They tried to make me believe I was a prophet. They tried every technique to turn me into a Manchurian candidate to attack political, military targets in the United States. When I refused, they tried suicidal hypnosis and suggestions to dispose of me. Luckily, I was smart enough to know their game. If a person says anything like I just told you to the local authorities, they would get locked up. I get a hold of one of the CIA's original project documents dating back 1953. That clued me in on how they dispose of people that they used to manipulate U.S. and world politics. They told me that they killed Kennedy this way. They told me they would crash the financial markets in order to rob the world while the people were focused on terrorism. But it is difficult to believe anything that they told me. They were right about the financial market collapse 2 years before it happened. Few names are mentioned in this book to protect the innocent. The document which this person refers called Project Artichoke. He told our researchers the target's names whom he was being programmed to assassinate. They were active military and political figures. The original documents, the Project Artichoke, they could kill any political figure in a man, and it said that they could kill any political figure in America or another country, but it did not say high-ranking generals could be targets. The mind programmers seem to have diverged from their original directive since 1953, a new type of coup d'etat in the works. Several of our interviewers said they were grabbed on the Day of Atonement, October 29th, October 31st, which is a satanic holiday. This too plays into the satanic cult scripts. Okay, and I'm going to go into one more script, and this is from Project Soul Catcher, but I'm breaking it down because, when I first read this as a target, it was a little deep for me, but now I understand it. I was very critical because I was like, man, he's talking about make you believe there's an omnipotent force. So I was taking it as, wow, he's saying it's all, anytime you have a thought of God, it's manufactured. No, he's saying they manufacture an experience from God, a false experience from God. He's not saying God's not real at all, but they can manufacture a false experience from God to influence you in a way. So this is why I'm breaking it down, because I think, all targets out there, and that's another thing. Don't never go out and commit acts of violence. Now, if you're defending yourself, that's one thing, but don't go out and commit acts of violence, okay? If one single act of violence is only going to make the target individual community even worse, look bad than they already try to make us look out to be. And I say this repetitively because it's very important. And then after you get done doing your act, we're just going to suffer more because, people are going to be like, oh, no, there's a target individual. I got to watch out. He might be trying to hurt me. They're dangerous in public. And that's not the idea we want to give. We're already marked as possible. Watch out for us on a watch list. But deep down inside, man, people know we ain't dangerous. Okay? Watchers, fallen angels, illegal surveillance and manipulation. Here's another script. The mind hackers call themselves the Watchers. The Watchers, or Grigori, are a group of fallen angels told in biblical apocrypha who mated with mortal women, giving rise to a race of hybrids known as the Nephilim, who are also mentioned in Genesis 6:4. The Watchers appear in the biblical apocrypha in the first and second book of Enoch and Jubilees. The word Grigori derives from the Slavonic second book of Enoch. According to the book of Enoch, Watchers numbered a total of 200, but only their leaders are named. And they were in, and here's from Book of Enoch 6, and they were in all 200 who descended the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they call it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. Enoch 6, people say, well, Enoch wasn't in the original Bible. Well, what you don't know is the Council of Nicaea picked and choose what they wanted. If you go to Jude, verse 15, it talks about the prophecies of Enoch. Well, where are they at? They were left out. Okay, research interviews. What struck an accord with our interviews is that we tasked several targets to ask their handlers how many psychic remote viewers there were in their organization. 3 of them were told 200, a reference to biblical apocrypha, but obviously untrue. Okay, here we go. Gabriel, literally strong man of God, is an angel who serves as a messenger from God. He first appears in the book of Daniel in the Hebrew Bible. Islam believes he was the medium through whom God revealed the Quran, or Muhammad, and that he sent a message to most prophets, if not all, revealing their obligations. He's called the chief of the 4 favored angels in the spirit of truth, and in some views, Gabriel is the same as the Holy Spirit. The big 3 warring religions, Christian, Hebrew, and Muslim, are not the only ones who have a messenger from God. Even the Romans and Greeks had Hermes and Mercury. Additionally, in Catholicism, Gabriel is the patron saint of the messengers, those who work for the broadcasting and telecommunications, such as radio and televisions, remote sensing, and postal workers. Michael's function is to open the gates of justice to the just. It's also said that at the resurrection, Gabriel will sound the trumpet, at which the graves will open and the dead will rise. Okay, you see the script? Gabriel's the patron saint of the messengers, those who work for broadcasting telecommunications such as radio and television. That's what they are in the script. Okay, pseudiography. According to the non-canonical Enoch 9, 1 through 2, Gabriel, along with Michael, Raphael, Uriel, hear the cries of humanity under the strain of the Nephilim. It was the beseeching of ancient days, Yahweh, that prompted the God to call Enoch to the prophethood. After Enoch informed the watchers of their fall from grace, Yahweh sent the angels to the earth to complete various tasks. Gabriel was to go to the biters, the reprobates, to the children of fornication, offspring of the watchers from among them, bring them forth, excite them against one another, let them perish under mutual slaughter, for the end of the days shall not be theirs. Enoch 10:13. Enoch 40 verse 9 states that Gabriel presides over all that is powerful. Gabriel is regarded with the exact same respect by Muslims of the prophets upon saying his name or referring to him as a Muslim. And this is what the book says. And it says, repeats, peace be upon him. Gabriel's primary tasks are to bring messages from God to his messengers. As in Christianity, Gabriel is said to be the angel that informed Mary of how she would conceive Jesus. What you got to understand about the book of Enoch 2 is it goes into detail about the fallen angels and how they showed man how to make fire, weapons, exact, and makes you think, don't it? Are they showing man how to make this technology to torture us? Good question. The name Gabriel first appears in the book of Daniel. The setting of the story is Babylonian captivity. The Jewish leader Daniel ponders the meaning of several visions he's experienced in exile when Gabriel appears to him with a message about the end of days. And it came to pass, when I, even Daniel, had seen the vision, that I sought to understand. And behold, there stood before me an appearance of man. And I heard the voice of a man between the banks of Ulai, who called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was terrified and fell upon my face. But he said to me, understand, son of man, for the vision belongs to the times of the end. Gabriel's horn refers to the tradition identifying the archangel Gabriel with the angel who blows the horn to announce judgment day, associating with the infinite with the divine. The mathematical function is found in amplitude of bells and the shapes of horns used at sporting events. Many targets of electronic harassment have stated they heard tinnitus that follows this curve before communication. Okay, and okay, let's see. And what he's saying is, okay, let me see. Okay, narrated Aisha. Al-Harith bin Hisham asked the prophet. This is from volume 4, book 54, number 438. Now I'm pretty sure this is from the Quran. These are examples of the scripts. He's fixing to go into it, but matter of fact, yeah. How does the divine inspiration come to you? He replied in all these ways. The angels sometimes come to me with a voice which resembles the sound of a ringing bell. And when the state abandons me, I remember what the angel said, and this type of divine inspiration is the hardest on me. Sometimes the angel comes to me in the shape of a man and talks to me, and I understand and remember what he says. Many targets that hear 3.3 hertz pulsing ringing in the ears, tinnitus, which sounds like bell ringing and follows the logarithmic curve. Tinnitus might be a side effect of the audio cortex neurons being induced for spontaneous firing, and it might be a method to associate a sound to the torture secrets, a Pavlov effect, thereby intensifying the torture and the lasting damaging effects on the target's psychology. In addition, the association with the particular sounds helps bring back the focus to the target mind about the external signal and trains it to listen again. The spook industry loves this quote used to justify tongue-in-cheek their disinformation campaign. And here's another one. Volume 4, Book 54, number 432, narrated Aisha. I heard Eli's apostles saying the angels descended to clouds and mentions this or that matter to decree in heaven. The devils listen stealthily to such matter, come down to inspire the soothsayers with it, and the latter would add to it 100 lies of their own. And so you got to understand the reason he switched and used Muslim and Christian examples is, because if they're not going to trick a Muslim and make them think they're hearing Jesus. They're going to trick a Muslim and make him think he's thinking from make him think he's being influenced directly by somebody from the Quran, a Christian. That's why he's giving two different examples. He's showing you how they will manipulate the Bible and the Quran to make you think you have certain experiences. So anyway, it says this technique is called the method by counterintelligence and strategic domestic deception units. And I'm almost done. For example, talks about mind control. Okay, technology, then aliens. The human mind will assume everything is untrue because they don't believe in aliens or whatever is not a popular belief. He's given another example. Volume 4, Book 54, number 448, narrated Abu Talib. I heard Eli's apostle saying angels of Mercury do not enter a house where there's a dog or a picture of a living creature, human being. And then here's Volume 4, Book 54, number 450. Narrated Salam's father. Once Gabriel promised the prophet that he would visit him, but Gabriel did not come. And later on he said, we angels do not enter a house which contains a picture or a dog. Allah's apostle ordered that the dog should be killed. Clandestine operatives kill, poison dogs, and steal personal pictures or erase them from a computer at standard practice. Agents poison dogs before a home invasion. Isolation is important so that the person internally focuses on the external neural messaging. Brain entrainments to be really effective require that sensory stimulation be minimal for their peripheral sensors, such as sensory deprivation tanks. For instance, they'll go in and kill the dog, and because somebody and they'll put that, and then after a Muslim's dog dies or something, they'll have that voice coming, and they'll be like, man, angels of Mercury do not enter a house where there's a dog or a picture of a living creature, and that's why my pet died. Just an example. Okay, I'm not, one can conceive 70 kinds of fire, okay, he's going to give one more, and I'm going to end it up. Volume 4, Book 54, number 487, narrated Abu Hurairah. Allah's apostle said, your ordinary fire is one of 70 parts of hell. Someone asked, oh, Allah's apostle, this ordinary fire would have been sufficient to torture the unbelievers. Allah's apostle said the hell fire has 69 parts more ordinary, worldly fire. Each part is as hot as this worldly fire. One can conceive 70 kinds of fire, such as microwave energy used by tortures, by US, lasers, rug burn, friction, ultrasound, oxidation, rashes from viruses or bacteria, frostbite, chemical burns, radiation, muscle burn from stress positions, etc. And he's just giving thanks. I'm gonna go right, and this is the way mind control works by inserting thoughts into the human population. So he's saying that they will hold on. It says later the Russian LID causes excessive sleep through radio frequency transmission. Anyway, I'm going to skip to one more thing and I'm done. That's confusion. It's hard to explain. These are what they're saying. They're not saying that if you're Muslim out there, they're not saying the Quran. He's not saying that the Quran's not real or none of that. He's saying they will use it and influence you without you even knowing it and make you do certain things, acting off them certain verses. He was just using examples. Okay, sleeping beauty script, and I'm gone. How are remote sleeper agents trained? Remote sleeper agents are the same as remote control proxy soldiers, which is done through brain signal cloning program, behavior conditioning, and the radio frequency hearing effect. Creating depression or using people who are depressed is traditional because they have less brain activity in the frontal lobe, which are used to control at will and motivation. This makes them more susceptible to brainwashing and programming techniques. Lack of sleep breaks down the will too. The idea is to take control of the sense of self and the will of the person. Excessive stress and torture causes brain changes from cortisol in the frontal lobes and prolonged pain shrinks in the brain. In physical renditions, a brainwashing technique is called the sleeper room. This is necessary torture and stress. The necessary torture and stresses are produced following by massive sleep. Sleep reinforces the program and lessens into long-term behavioral changes. The same can be done with remote renditions. Okay, and then there's one more script, but I'm not going to go into it because the end kind of got boring because of that. Because I know some people are going to get confused on what I was doing, the Bible verses, the Quran verses, but most targets will understand. If you have any more questions about it, I would be glad to further explain. So anyway, God bless y'all. This is a long video, I know, but I felt like it needs to be done. There's a couple more scripts if y'all would like to hear them. They're very interesting. I don't mind doing it, but this is a 35-minute video, probably one of the longest I've done. So anyway, God bless y'all. Y'all have a good weekend considering the torture we go through. I know I'm going to try my best. God bless.